I'm Sean Higgins, editor for SPAR3D.com and the SPAR3D newsletter. I'm here at SPAR3D 2018 in the OrbitGT booth, where, as I understand it, you guys have some updates to your 3D mapping cloud program, right?
Yes, absolutely. We have our product that we bring online. So we have a desktop portfolio, but here at SPAR we launch a new version of 3D mapping.cloud. And it's really a major upgrade. We introduce new business models and new features, and this is an upgrade that's really for everybody. And so if you're doing 3D reality capture in some way, and you're related to the mapping business, then this is a go-to solution for basically everybody. Whether you're a small company, you're a single surveyor, or if you're a big construction company or consultancy company, then we can manage the big data, the small data, we can manage the UAVs, we can manage the mobile mapping, we can manage the aerial data, the terrestrial data, the indoor, the outdoor, you name it, whatever 3D capture you do.
So if I'm an existing user of 3D Mapping Cloud, what do you think is going to be the most striking change when I get the upgraded version of the software? I mean, what will I notice first, or what will I find most useful?
There are a couple of business things, like business model things. We've introduced free services like 100 gigabyte for everyone, and free sharing of data, of viewing of data, so guest users that you can enable. But the most striking features are improvements in the measurements, in the way that the data appears, and the growth of types of data that we support, in storing or managing your view layout and preparing it for somebody else, so that you can really in one view create something that you can share with a large audience, basically in one click. So those are some very big improvements in the tools. Yeah.
So when we were talking about this earlier, you mentioned there was a vector object search.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about that and what the idea behind it and what that does for people?
Yeah. Well, basically, it comes from our desktop experience in GIS and so many people using it. So if you look at our desktop portfolio, we have that content manager that helps people collect data and keep the oversight of what they're doing. And then in the feature extraction part of it, we help people to convert the raw data into actionable data, so that they can feed that back to whichever work process that comes after that. But there's also the sharing part, and when you share information, you want to look it up. And GIS, that's standard, of course, but in 3D mapping and point cloud, that's not so obvious. And being photogrammetrist for over 50 years, being GIS specialist for a long time, we're kind of in a unique situation that we know both businesses, both worlds, both technologies. And we bring that together in our publisher that we had for a while installed on premise. And now, of course, we migrate that also to our cloud product. So we support the vector data. This is not a GIS solution, typical GIS solution, but we support the vector data that GIS typically uses. And bringing that in, you can really navigate through your point cloud and your imagery that you collected using vector data and searching in the vector data, basically. So you have an inventory of all your polls, for example. Well, you type in which polls need review, and you just navigate through that. And the system will automatically bring up the right picture and the right point clouds for you to investigate, do your QC, QA, whatever you want to do.
So it sounds like a much faster way to work through large, disparate kinds of data sets.
Yes, and it doesn't matter, the number of data sets doesn't matter, and the volume of your data set doesn't matter. So in other situations it might be very hard to navigate through terabytes of point clouds. Yeah. And in this way it's really a piece of cake. It's just one click and you go to the next and go to the next and go to the next. So it's a very easy way to work with your data.
And as I understand it, there have been some updates to your auto recognition as well. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yes, that's on the desktop side, where we integrated some new algorithms for automated detection, especially in our polls, and in the previous version we also introduced object-based, template-based recognition. So, for example, you can select a poll in a certain form and then go look for that same form throughout your point cloud. So not just the poles, but that type of pole. So those things are now fully automated, as also improvements on rail detection and road and traffic signs, and that's a major improvement on the desktop side.
And as I understand it, the last sort of big improvement on the desktop side is that the platform has been consolidated. Can you tell me what that does for people and what sort of new workflows that might help enable?
Well, when you look at the usage of 3D reality capture, it still is. How should I say that? The survey used to go on the field. So 3D reality capture brings the reality inside, and then you have more eyes to check what you want to know about reality out there. But in the end, this is the only part that has been really changed. So you can improve your processes by bringing reality inside much faster. You just drive around and you get the data in instead of going physically to every location.
Right.
So that's an obvious thing. Everybody knows that. But beyond that, the deliverable from the surveyor, whatever he's using, a static scanner or a mobile mapping system, is still some point line area kind of thing that you feed into your GIS or CAD. So the second portion of automation is really using that raw data and do that feature extraction in the most effective way. We've been doing that for a long time and making it easy for a big team of non-engineers to use it very effectively. We've introduced procedures in there and asset inventory over 10 years ago. But the more you automate, the faster the production goes. So the reason why we introduced that automated feature extraction is to help those people, our customers, to be even better in doing their job and be even faster in making their delivery to the customer. And so this is a part of the real work process, real workflow, which is a different part than how do you get it to the customer.
Right.
Yeah? Also traditionally, you send shapefile or CAD file or something like that. We think this is going to be obsolete too. By using our cloud product, you simply upload it to the cloud, and then using our plugins, you plug it in any kind of application at the customer site, whatever they are using. We don't know what they are using, so it's an SDK, it's an API, everybody can build it in, it's a free API. But it can be a GIS or CAD system, but it can also be a workflow from, I don't know, an SAP system or IBM Maximo for asset management. And we have plenty of partners who have done that already in all kinds of applications that we've never heard of, but are very effective for that specific customer.
Right.
And you don't have to ship your shapefile, you don't have to ship your CAD design, you don't even have to ship your point cloud, but you can make it effective for your customer as well. Because maybe they want to do an extra measurement and hide your point cloud behind the image and use the image as a user interface, but your point cloud as your precision information, XYZ information. So we see the business shifting to that. We want to make that possible, and a couple of our customers have really understood that. And really, say, okay, we're not just going to send a shapefile to the customer, but here you have an online solution where our results are there, what we've done for you, but we also show you the imagery that we've been collecting from mobile mapping. And you know what? You can even make your own measurements because the point cloud is in there as well. We don't confront you with the point cloud because maybe you don't understand that because you're not a surveyor or not an engineer. But you can make your measurements supplementary to what we have done for you. So this is not, we're bringing really that 3D reality capture not to the engineers, but also, I always say not the 10 engineers, but also the 10,000s of common users in a big organization, be it a company, be it a government, be it the public at large.
So would the consolidation of the desktop platform also be simplifying the use of this data for these non-engineering users that you've been telling me about?
Absolutely. Simplification is the ultimate sophistication. It's one of my credos. It's by Leonardo da Vinci. But we go the extra mile to simplify, to make it simple. And one of the great things, of course, is that we support every vendor, we support every system out there. And once you import it, whichever piece of hardware you're using, in our software it's always the same. So many vendors ship a little bit of the software with it, but then you have situations where most companies buy pieces of equipment from different vendors, then they all have different pieces of software. That's not very effective. They want to keep the same workflow and maybe buy a lower end piece of equipment for that small job and then a high end piece of equipment for that very critical job. But use the same workflow, so be effective in the same way. And that's also something that we offer, simplification in that matter. So however you collect your data, doesn't matter, we'll support it. That's also an idea, not only in mobile mapping, but also UAVs and imagery, aerial imagery and statics and so on and so on. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming by, Simon.